What's up, guys? TheMainManSWE here, hoping you're all doing awesome as always, and welcome to a pretty interesting video. I don't know what I'm going to call this video on YouTube, but probably I was wrong about the Mishimas, and I've been wrong about a lot of characters in the game. So let me just quickly explain in a hopefully short introduction that during the last 2 months, I've played a lot of Tekken, I played a lot of Ranked, I've devoted a lot of time to mastering certain characters that I haven't spent too much time with before. I've discovered a lot of characters, I've rediscovered characters like namely Steve and Brian. I've started optimizing them more. I've just grown a lot as a player, and I feel like my understanding of this game has leveled up quite a bit. And I just noticed this weekend while I was labbing a few characters, I was just like, my dear lord. Like, if I made a tier list today, it would be completely different to my latest tier list that I made like, what, a month ago, 2 months ago. So I can't even look at my old tier list anymore. I feel like it's completely irrelevant. There are so many mistakes in character placings. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to give you guys my new take on the Mishimas. But no, that's changed quite a bit. And I'm going to explain in detail. I'm going to talk about Heihachi, Kazuya, and Deviljin in this video. But do know that in about a week or 2 weeks, after more labbing, I'll be making a new tier list. And that might be my final tier list on the game. We'll see. We'll see if we get more patches. But so, what have I always said about the Mishimas in Tekken 7? Deviljin, undisputed #1, the golden boy. No matter how much you nerf him, he's always the best. And then I've said that Kazuya is 1 step below Deviljin, but also a very strong character. And then you have Heihachi trailing those two. And sometimes, you know, and it's not only me, you know, a lot of top players have said that Heihachi is, you know, there's such an execution investment and you don't really get anything for it. Is he even mid-tier? But, you know, with all of the buffs lately, people have said Heihachi is like mid-tier, maybe slightly above that. But I've just come to realize that Heihachi probably is the strongest Mishima. He is stronger than Deviljin, and he certainly is stronger than Kazuya. So this is going to be my new take. I'm going to explain it today. And I feel like Deviljin's nerfs were bigger than I initially realized. And so again, I'm going to talk about him as well. Deviljin, and again, in my old tier list, I put Deviljin right next to Jin in the top 5. Deviljin probably doesn't even belong in the top 10 the way he is right now. And he's certainly not as strong as Jin, regular Jin. And Kazuya is a character I think I've overrated for a long time, for many years. And it's the same with Lee, you know, who I've called a dark horse and a perfect character. And then I actually take the time to play a lot of Lee to really understand his game plan, and he's not close to top 10 the way I envisioned him only a few months ago. But yeah, Kazuya also I put next to Lee and Brian, and it's like Brian is much stronger than Kazuya and Lee. Much stronger. Brian is close to top 10, if not top 10. You could argue that. But Kazuya and Lee, they're closer to like top 20-ish. And maybe might, Kazuya at least, Lee is stronger than Kazuya, but Kazuya might fall out of top 20. But we're gonna discuss it today. Sorry for a long introduction. I just wanted to get those initial thoughts out there. So, what makes Heihachi the best Mishima? The thing is, what I understand more and more about Tekken 7 is that it's about low commitment and being able to keep your opponent in check. And again, Heihachi has seen his jab buffed. We're gonna talk more about that soon. He's seen his jab buffed, so he has the best Mishima jab. That is a very, very big deal. This is arguably the most important attack in the game, followed by down forward 1, and his down forward 1 has got huge reach. And Heihachi has some of the best, this is no joke, like some of the best mids in the game, if not the best mids. As a kit, it's pretty flawless what he does with mids. and Demon Uppercut in certain matchups is absolutely absurd. So Heihachi, in my opinion, plays, I'm gonna say like optimal Tekken 7 better than the other Mishimas. Where Tag 2 was more about movement, the playstyle JDCR likes more. Movement, punishing with an electric, block, or whiff punish. Not so much Tekken 7 with more restricted movement. So here we want low commitment, being able to poke at the opponent, which Heihachi does really well, and then using timing to counter hit, which is, with Heihachi, very low risk and high reward. Forward free, on hit, that's guaranteed, right? 37 damage. On block, -2. Oh, I'm back to neutral, la 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 la. But on counter hit, you just got launched. And this tracks well to both sides. You know, and he has quite a few counter hits, this character. So he plays that really well. And his damage is really high. And one thing I underestimated for the longest time was what the extended jab reach did to his goddamn flash punch. Now, I mean, his wall pressure from far away now, you can threaten with 1-1 and hit confirm into 10 frame wall splat. This is absurdly strong. It's absurd how strong that is. And on a character that already has extremely strong wall pressure, right? So that was very underestimated by me. And then, okay, and you know, a punch parry that launches is a big deal. Not to be underestimated. And also something I failed to realize for a long time is that Heihachi actually has good lows now. For the longest time, I would tell you guys like, well, you know, what's the point of having all of these mids and highs if you don't have lows? Well, the first thing you have to realize is that he doesn't even need his lows. The mids are so oppressive, he can play without lows. That's the first thing you have to realize about Heihachi. Doesn't even need them. All you need is reading your opponent, scoring a counter hit, or stressing their guard into making mistakes, because he's so oppressive with his frames. So really good at the low risk, high reward playstyle of Tekken 7. But then, second point I want to mention is that his lows are actually good. I'm not gonna say really good, but yeah, underrated. I've just not realized how strong they are. It's like his hell sweep. We like to say, oh, he has the worst hell sweep. And he probably does, but is it a bad hell sweep? So again, first hit, -23. He staggers on guard. Like, this is just like any other Mishima. It doesn't trip, right, on normal hits. But what it does is it actually gives you 15 damage and a pretty gigantic +8. Oh, and what does this set up? As you know, forward free. Forward free comes out at 18 frames. So if Ryan there retaliates with any attack, including dick jab, he's going to trade with this, and it's a gigantic loss for him. So here I have all of these mids that basically tell you, don't ever duck this character. And you mix that with this hell sweep. That gives you +8 on normal hit, right? 15 damage. Has safe follow-up, where they have to take a guess. This can be dick jab at -10, but it's not bad, right? And what a lot of people forget about this hell sweep is that this is the only hell sweep to still have the patch 3.30 buff. This hell sweep is pretty much homing. It tracks super well to both sides. And it counter hit launches. How is that a bad low? It's not a perfect low, but I mean, could you imagine if this wasn't launch punishable, this low? Would be like the best low in the game. So again, even if launch punishable, how is this a bad low considering the mids he can mix up with? That's not a bad low. And then he has generic down back 4, which is not a bad low again. And then you can you know, use his absurd while standing 2 afterwards, set that up, or other moves. And then what do we have? We have full crouch down forward 4. That gives him a full crouch mix-up. Or you can just, wave cancel. Oh god, my execution. Wave cancel into that. Again, this is not a low you'll be throwing out a lot with Heihachi. But how is this a bad low? So again, down back 4, hell sweep, full crouch down forward 4. These are not... That's not a terrible set of lows. So, yeah, I've just underestimated Heihachi for the longest time. Out of the Mishimas, he definitely has the best counter hits. He has the best jab. He has the best pressure. He's got good punishment. Not as good as Devil Jin's, but still really good. And the buff to while standing 1 really helped. Comes out at 13 frames instead of 14. But yeah, damage so high. 1-1-2 so good. Launching punch parry amazing. Best highs, best mids. Also has super fast recovery on electric and tracking. And good lows. Forward 4, absurd. Heihachi is the best Mishima in my opinion, and fits the Tekken 7 playstyle the best. You can mention down back 2 if you want to, but this one is far inferior to Hell Sweep in my opinion. This one can quite easily be stepped, although sometimes it has a really weird homing property where it hits behind him. But this one is much more steppable, and it is also reactable at 23 free frames. It should be mentioned that's only with like really solid players with really fast reactions. They will see this, but you know, that's rare. But I still feel like Hell Sweep is superior to down back 2. Due to the frames, the tracking, and launching on counter hit. It just is superior. So that's going to be the portion where I talk about Heihachi. And now I'm going to talk about Devil Jin and how I felt he was top 5. And he's not top 5. He's not close to top 5. So what happened to this guy? He was so strong. First off, the nerf of back to 1 hit this character way harder than I realized. He has the lowest damage out of the Mishimas. So let's say I hit with an electric. If I'm an execution god, I'll do this. 91 damage. That's the big boy, hard to do staple. So how realistic is it to do that? Most of you will do this. Oh, sorry. Most people will do this. That's 86 damage from an electric, including his wall combo. 86. Very underwhelming. Especially if you compare to Heihachi and Kazuya, who get way more. And even when I did the double electric big boy staple, I got 91 damage. The damage just isn't very high at all. And it should be noted that it's kind of hard actually to end with the laser cannon as an ender. And I think it does 18. Did you know that if you wall splat from far away, you do the maximum wall travel, you run into this 1-2. Jesus. Far wall travel, you run into 1-2 back 4 into Oki. That does 14 damage. Just as a comparison with these Oki ender combos that flip like that, Leo gets 27 damage, Katarina gets 28 damage, Julia gets something similar. This is very lackluster damage. Okay, so that's problem number 1. But the bigger problem, and again, something I just didn't realize, is that when you remove up forward 4, that was the safe power mid. Devil Jin has an amazing hell sweep. Even with the nerf to back to 1 on the wall, this hell sweep remains incredible. It's a pretty over-tuned attack. But the problem for Devil Jin now is when you remove up forward 4, it's like, what the hell do you mix up with? 50-50, you know, CD3 is reactable at 26 frames. That's going to get blocked. So what do? Well, we have Demon Paw. But again, that's not a very scary mid to mix up with. Maybe at the wall, but in the neutral, it's like, well, that's not too bad, eating 24 damage like that. So what do we have? Well, we have While Standing 2. But that's unsafe at -12. Unsafe. And that's a launcher that does not allow Devil Jin to screw. So again, we get back to this damage problem. I mean, this is pretty optimal. 71, including the wall combo. No, the removal of back to 1 and the up forward 4 nerf, those were big deals for Devil Jin. Granted, this character still has a lot of incredible stuff. I love his punishment, laser cannon tracking, down forward 1, has some nice poking, back 4. The problem is that the 50-50 is not very scary anymore. And his damage is lackluster compared to the other Mishimas. So yes, Heihachi is stronger than Devil Jin, in my opinion. And Devil Jin is not top 5. I don't think he is top 10, in my new opinion. So now we're going to talk about Kazuya. And this one is going to be the most interesting, I think, considering this is my main. And this is a character I have, during the entirety of Tekken 7, held in high regard when it comes to his strength level. And in my latest tier list, I put him in top 13, I think, exactly behind Brian and Lee. And the thing is, Kazuya, I've come to realize, is not a good character. He is just not a good character. And in my opinion, if you want to play the Kazuya game plan, but you want to do it with a very strong character, you do it with Marduk. Marduk is quite literally, to me, Kazuya on steroids. He basically does everything Kazuya does, but way better, and can stay more safe. So what is the problem with Kazuya? He is insanely clunky when it comes to the poking. And I've tried to mention in this recording here how important it is to be able to check your opponent and poke well with Kazuya. Kazuya doesn't have a good counter hit game, and his poking game is really bad. So it's just like Marduk, where no matter what swing you take, you are at -9 million. So -8, -9, -7. You know how it goes with Kazuya's poking. It's like his down forward 1, 15 frames, -7. So he has no poking. This is really bad for a character in this game. Didn't hurt him too much in Tag 2, hurts him much more in this game. And then the biggest problem, he is unbelievably unsafe. And this is the reason why you never see him in tournaments. It's because it's basically impossible to play a safe Kazuya. Kazuya relies on big swings, like 20 frame startup, 20 frame startup, huge startup, huge startup, huge startup. He needs time to commit to his attacks. And while he's doing this, he has no evasion. It's very legacy, right? You have no evasion. So everything on startup is a huge risk, which is why he wants to knock you down so that he can actually safely do these attacks, at least more safely, right? But the problem is, this game is about the neutral here. And Kazuya gets blown up by every move. That is 11 frames to 13, these big counter hits. King back 1, Armor King back 1, Steve back 1, every Magic 4 in the game. Down 4-2s that are very safe, blow him up. Everything blows him up when he's trying to come in. And then a big problem is that, again, you know, a lot of people think his Vortex is so good. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to underplay it. It's very nice to have forward, forward, 4, to be able to do Hell Sweep into forward, forward, 3 on tech roll. But the big problem here is that you are committing to something that is always unsafe. So again, do you know how much the risk reward is against him on a Hell Sweep? Like, if it hits 33 damage, if the opponent blocks this, do you know how much damage Brian gets in this position on this stage? I mean, 100? If he does the right combo. And again, this house sweep is extremely vulnerable to a simple sidestep left. And Brian gets my back, and it's 3-3-2 in the back, and I'm dead. Again, the entire move list is extremely steppable to the left. And what does Boa do to shut down stepping? He'll do a really cool cancel into while stunning too. You know how much he loves to throw this out. This is minus 18. It's minus 18. Def in high level. But again, yeah, you can throw out while stunning free if you want to. Or back 4. Not as much of a payoff, but they're there. But again, yeah, when you 50-50 like this is just too unsafe. It is way too unsafe. And Kazuya has way too little match control in the neutral with his horrible frames and horrible pokes. Leaves himself way too open to retaliation when he goes for his big swings. Way too steppable. What I always come down to with Kazuya lately is like, well, at least he has the electric. That move is super good. Recovers very quickly on whiff, tracks to both sides decently. But the problem is, well, yeah, he just doesn't... He's not alone in having this attack, right? Heihachi has it. Devil Jin has it. They have the same properties, except for Kazuya having a perfect electric. That is just, at best, super inconsistent. So, yeah, just to quickly, out of those of you who might be interested, there are a million reasons as to why Marduk is stronger than Kazuya, but I just want to show you that Kazuya, all he has is basically the Vortex, in my opinion, and Marduk does that, but he does it better than Kazuya. So it's like, I can also 50-50, right? Opponent chooses tech roll. I can also Vortex, right? Can also throw a 50-50 mix-up on him. But what I can also do with Marduk is like, oh, I want to stay safe. I'll just do a tackle. Now, he can break that, but did I take a risk doing this? No. Or I go in, throw mix-up on Wake Up into a super strong throw game, right? So again, and I can go into poking. It's like Marduk has options that are not as risky. And I've also learned with this game, but it's very good to have different options. It's like Leroy has a million options in the offense. Kazuya has no options. There are no mix-ups. All he has is that 50-50. And it's just too bare bones, and it is too risky. And again, you know, let's say he stays on the ground. Just like Kazuya. Oh, shit. Just like Kazuya, you know. Oh. We can do a forward 4. So, yeah, I'm just... I hope this was now 24 minutes, but I really wanted to explain my thoughts. I hope it wasn't too long. But Kazuya is just nowhere near as strong as I thought he is. And his jab is terrible, which is also a big deal. So we'll see where I put him on my new tier list. But yeah, nowhere near as strong as I thought. Devil Jin is not as strong as I thought, but he's certainly better than Kazuya. Yeah, I think so, at least. I'm going to have to think about that, actually. Devil Jin is not in a good place either. But Heihachi is the best Mishima. And Heihachi is not top 10. The only Mishima, well, Jin, pseudo Mishima, but if he's included when we say Mishima, he is far above the other ones. Heihachi is really good, but Jin is pretty perfect. He has some range problems on certain pokes and punishes, but that's a small thing to give up, considering he's pretty flawless, in my opinion. So, hope you enjoyed this recording, and thanks for listening to me. Bye-bye.